Good afternoon and welcome to AAA's latest Facebook Live. My name's David Bennett. Today I have Mike Calkins with me. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, Dave. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so last time we talked, that you were with me, we talked about potholes, right?
That's right, a very deep subject.
Nice. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, in honor of Halloween, we're going to talk about repairs that scare, or scary repairs.
Yeah.
You know, because let's face it, it is a scary world out there at times. So what are some of the things, both of us have been in the automotive industry for a long time. What are some of the things that just jumped to your mind of you went, man, the car came into my shop, into my bay, and I was like, wow, what's going on?
Well, one of the scariest things that I've seen looking under the hood is, so I pop the hood and someone has been working on the car themselves. It's got a high pressure fuel injection system and they put low pressure fuel lines, or even worse, they've used vacuum hose in place of the fuel lines.
Oh yeah.
So you're just waiting for a fire.
Oh, there's no doubt you might as well put some marshmallows in the glove box just in case, because you never know that fuel is going to spew onto that hot manifold and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, those hoses just were not designed to contain that amount of pressure.
Yeah, and speaking of hoses, I remember one time for me, I opened the hood and somebody had taken a heater hose and I guess it burst on them in a act of desperation. They cut a garden hose. They put a garden hose on the heater hose, and I'm like, it's like, no. That's got to be replaced soon.
Well, sooner rather than later, that's for sure.
At some point, they'd probably break down at the side of the road or something, because as we talked about earlier, 200 degrees, that battery or that garden hose is not really set for that.
Well, no, and a big thing too is if you lose that coolant, you can overheat your engine. On a modern engine, you could be looking at $1,000 in repairs if you overheat that.
Yeah, that's definitely scary there.
Yeah.
Another one that comes to mind for me is batteries. I remember seeing a battery for some reason the vent on the battery was clogged, and all of a sudden the battery was expanding just due to the heat. And the first thing we did is replace that battery, and we had to have our eye protection and everything else, because the damage that could occur if that battery would have exploded.
Right, they're filled with sulfuric acid, which not only can cause an extreme personal injury, but damage a lot of the components under the hood as well.
Yeah, including the paint and everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that scares me. What about anything else that's jumping to mind that kind of scares you a little bit?
Well, talking about batteries, a battery that's not secured in place is a big concern to me, especially people who drive on rough roads. That battery's bouncing around. Not only does it shorten the life of the battery, but if that positive terminal comes in contact with part of the body somewhere, it's going to cause a short circuit that could cause a fire or potentially damage electronic components throughout the vehicle.
Yeah, especially with today's electronic vehicles. You don't know what kind of spike will occur and how many of the actual onboard computers this thing will take out, or sensors. So it is crazy. Another one I think that's pretty timely is tires.
Absolutely.
Those things are scary. Anytime I'm driving down the road and I see somebody with those temporary spares, they're passing me, I'm doing 55, 60 and they're doing 70 on their phone. Just scares me. I mean, those things are designed 50 miles an hour for 50 miles at the most. 50-50 is what you should remember.
Yep, absolutely. Then the other thing that comes to mind with tires for me is you see people pull in and they got bald tires. They got child seats in the back seat and they got bald tires on the car.
Right.
And that scares the heck out of me for everyone's sake.
Yeah, so hopefully that the child seats are secured properly as well. So that's kind of inside, open up the hood, some things. I mean, I've seen, of course, in the northern climates where you open the hood and you see the rat's nests and the chipmunks that have stored seed and things like that. So you got to make sure that you're always cleaning that out, because that could actually clog the airflow of the vehicle and stall the engine out.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that bothers me, and you don't see it as much today as you did in the old days, speaking as a seasoned citizen.
There you go.
Is when people lose their gas cap and put a rag in the gas cap in place of the gas cap to plug that off.
Right.
Not only is that not effective and dangerous, but it's also going to turn on your check engine light, because part of your emission control system is going to be rendered ineffective by doing that.
Yeah, so great points of things to think about and not to do, because they are very scary, not just for us that repair vehicles, but mainly for the people that are driving them. Yeah. Some other things that can be scary are warning lights. Sometimes, if your electrical system goes out, it sounds like you won a jackpot, because it goes ding, 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 and lights are everywhere. Typically, that's just a failure of the alternator or the battery. But there are a couple other warning lights that are pretty scary. One of them that comes to mind would be the coolant temperature.
Yeah, coolant temperature. We talked about that just a couple of minutes ago. If a heater hose should break, when a modern engine, when it starts to overheat, you need to slow down, and if it doesn't, the temperature doesn't come down, if the light doesn't go off pretty quickly, you need to pull over and call AAA and have that vehicle towed, because you don't want to risk damage from overheating. It's very, very costly.
Yeah, and that light's red. So I think a good rule of thumb to always think about is when you look at warning lights, red, yellow, green, red, stop, pull over, turn it off as soon as you can, call for service. And then, yellow, like a check engine light, right?
Yeah. Yeah, check engine light, again, that goes back to your emission control systems. The check engine light means that for some reason your car is producing more exhaust emissions than it's supposed to. So you need to make an appointment and take your car in at your earliest convenience, but it's generally not a critical safety issue unless that light starts flashing, and that means that your catalytic converters are overheating, and you need to shut the car down right away and have it towed, because if you melt down those catalytic converters, you're looking at a minimum of $1,000 and potentially much more.
At least, and then you're going to have drivability issues too. Your exhaust backs up, it's going to create back pressure, which causes the engine to stall and things like that. So again, talk about creating fires and things like that, because that catalytic converter can get cherry red and hot like that, and you park on some leaves or something like that, you could really get the car going.
Yeah, you're talking about temperatures well in excess of 1,000 degrees when that's overheating. It's nothing to mess around with.
No, agreed. So those are some of the scary things we've seen. We'd love to hear your comments and some of the stories that you've seen. Please put those in the comments section. Again, I'm David Bennett, and this is Mike Calkins with me. So, one of the things that's a little bit scary about auto repair and actually getting the vehicle scared, and I kind of hit it a little bit myself. I really don't like taking my car to get it repaired. I'm not sure about you. You enjoy it?
No, I've been in the industry 40 years, and it's still, I still don't feel comfortable when I go into a repair shop, even when I know the people. It's like going to the dentist. It's not fun, and it's going to cost money.
Right, exactly. And I know that I could probably repair it, but I just don't have the time or the tools to do it. So, so what are some things that we can do or we can suggest to the viewers to take some of that scare out of the auto repair experience?
Well, I think it comes back to something I just said. Get to know the people. Choose one repair shop, preferably a AAA approved auto repair facility, and have them do all the work on your car. That way they get to know you, you get to know them, they know your vehicle, and it takes some of that scare out of it because you have a relationship. It's not just a stranger.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. I think establishing that relationship, even for a basic vehicle inspection or oil change. And you got that, especially coming up right now before the holidays. People are going to be traveling over Thanksgiving and over the other holidays. You should really have your vehicle inspected, make sure it's good to go, but don't do it the day before. Yeah. Because that gets scary in its own right too. So then you have to make a choice, do I repair it or do I not?
Yeah, when you have a vehicle inspection done, it's likely that the shop is going to find something that needs to be done, even if it's as minor as an oil change. Right. But potentially you might have a brake wear problem or something else that does need to be taken care of before you go on a road trip. Right. So you want to allow enough time so that you can get that work done. Yeah, and I think one way another way to keep the scare out of it is set an appointment, call up, set an appointment, but realize they're not going to start on that vehicle on that appointment date. That's when they're going to write it up, then they'll take a look at it, give you a call a little bit later. So make sure you give them a good number to contact you, so when they get back and say, hey, you may need this, here's what it's going to cost, can we get authorization? And then part of that authorization, make sure you get a written estimate. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the single greatest protection the consumer has when having their vehicle repaired. And I always encourage people, when they talk to you about what needs to be done, if you don't understand, ask questions. Make sure you know what they're going to do and what it's going to cost before you sign on the dotted line. Yeah, and understand what their warranty is. At AAA approved auto repair facilities, it's 2 years or 24,000 miles, whichever comes first, unless noted on the repair order. Yeah. And that's a great warranty there, too. Oh, yeah, it is. So, but make sure you understand what you're buying and what services you're having done, and have them clearly explain it. I think it's a great point. Yeah. So, I'd like to go back to some of the scary things. Okay, we talked about some crazy things. What's like the big scariest thing? Do you have one that, we kind of talked a little fun with some, there's one that just stands out in your mind that's the scariest do-it-yourself thing that somebody's done? We talked about fuel lines and the potential fire, of course. That's probably the biggest one. But second to that is anything having to do with the brake system. I once saw a car that had a leaking brake hose to one of the front wheels.
Right.
And someone had actually put a pair of vice grips on it to clamp off the hose so it didn't leak.
Wow.
But which also disabled the brakes on that corner of the car. So no doubt the car pulled to one side every time you hit the brakes. So that's just out and out dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but it's crazy, you know. And then I've seen a couple things where people are using coat hangers or whatever just to secure. Could be an exhaust system. It could be even a brake line.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to get it up there so it's just secure. I don't have to deal with it. It's not rattling around. I'll deal with it later. But again, use the tools that are proper there. I've seen the same thing. You mentioned the battery hold down. Again, you've seen bungee straps that are just holding that down. Well, a good try, but it's still not properly securing it because it got some flex and it's going to just rock back and forth.
Well, you mentioned exhaust systems. I mean, again, that's something you don't mess around with because engine exhaust has odorless, tasteless carbon monoxide in it, which can and will kill you if it gets into the car.
Right.
So do-it-yourself exhaust repairs, is it possible? Yes, but you want to make sure that that system is absolutely sealed up tight. And if you're not capable of doing that yourself, take it to a professional and have it done right.
And that's probably the scariest thing there, is right there, is, you know, the odorless fumes and everything like that. So that's probably a good place for us to go ahead and wrap this up. So I think a couple things to think about. Take your vehicle into to have it inspected. Establish a good relationship with your repair facility. If you don't know where, if you do not have one, you can visit us at AAA.com/auto repair to find one of the 7,000 repair facilities across North America. Mike, I thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, David.
Hopefully you have a safe Halloween. I think everybody needs to be safe out there too, so especially with all the kids running around.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us today.